Welcome to Mind of Wander, Case 3, Slenderman. I'm sure quite a few of you know about this entity already, but there are some that do not. The purpose of this is to explain not only the entity and his followers, but also things that might help you survive should you encounter him. I hope this helps everyone. The Slenderman, also known as the Ritter, the Construct, him, it, SM, Slendy, OC, the Black King, and probably a few others, is always described roughly the same way. Somewhere between 6'8" and 7 feet tall, and sometimes even taller. Thin build, black business suit, red tie, and a white undershirt. Most important feature is the lack of facial features. Bald, no ears, no eyes, no nose, no mouth. He's also said to and shown in some occurrences to have tentacles that he can use both for mobility and can possibly use as weapons. People attribute Slenderman's origin to Something Awful forums, a create paranormal image board, where a user named Victor Surge brought the first images and stories of Slenderman to the world. However, there are others who believe he started out somewhere farther past, specifically the year 9000 BC. The basis for this is a set of cave paintings in Serra de Cabicaba Park in northeastern Brazil. The stories continue on to include Egyptian hieroglyphs and woodcuts from 1883. The following are written accounts that I've transcribed in order to get them right word for word. In relation to German woodcuts by Hans Frankenberger, 1883, of a creature known as Der Ritter. My child Lars, he's gone, taken, from his bed. The only thing we found was a scrap of black clothing. It feels like cotton, but it's softer, thicker. Lars came into my bedroom yesterday, screaming at the top of his lungs that the angel is outside. I asked him what he was talking about, and he told me some nonsense, fairy tales about the Growerman. He said he went into the groves by the village and found one of my cows dead, hanging from a tree. I thought nothing at first, but now he is gone. We must find him, and my family must leave before we are killed. I'm sorry, my son, I should have listened. May God forgive me. The next is a Romanian fairy tale. The tall man stood in a clearing, dressed as a nobleman, all in black. Shadows lay over him, dark as clouds at midnight. He had many arms, long and boneless as snakes, all sharp as swords. They writhed like worms on nails. He did not speak, but made his intentions known. In the fairy tale, the tall man causes the mother to kill her husband and child before he slid from the fireplace and clenched her in his burning embrace. Allegedly intercepted messages from an unknown source. 2. Optic Nerve HQ from Field Agent Blank, North American Branch. Subject, a Rising S-Man report. June 16th, 2009. 1234 hours. Blank agent from Japanese field office told me he has been kicking my head for the past couple days. She said maybe this thing isn't breeding, but the others are waking up. That maybe these things have been hibernating for God knows how long, and how they are up and feeding. It makes some kind of sense, with the stories of this thing dating back to the Dark Age of Europe and beyond that, but the $6 million question is, if the theory's true, how many of them are there? The Henderson Farm Incident, 1953. Henderson Farm, located outside Tyron in Polk County, North Carolina, situated in land owned by the Henderson family since the mid-1800s. By 1953, the farm was owned and run by Ted Wilcox Henderson, 41, Judy Henderson, wife, 36, Tracy Henderson, daughter, 6. June 15th. Neighbors called police complaining about hearing screams and the sound of gunfire from the property. Sheriff Clint Dennerman and 2 deputies, Dan Parks and Chris Fine, arrived at the farm at 8:34 a.m. They found the horses in the barn had been torn apart as attacked by wild animals. In the house, reports stated the presence of fresh blood throughout the living room, kitchen, hallway. Ted was found in the bedroom barricaded behind furniture. Next to him was the body of his wife, killed by a shotgun blast to the chest. Ted still had the weapon in his hands. Dan Parks was quoted as reporting, "Ted had freaked out, a far-off look in his eyes. He seemed not to realize we were in the room. When we asked what happened, where was his daughter, he didn't answer." Ted was charged with the murder of his wife, however, due to his catatonic state, was admitted to Jenkins Mental Hospital in Sandy Plains, Polk County. He remained in that state for over 3 years. On the third anniversary, Dr. Doughton on June 15, 1956, talked to him. He said, "Skinny fellas, suit, looking at me," who had taken both Judy Henderson and her daughter. Ted claimed that Judy begged him to shoot her and felt that he had saved her by doing so. However, after lamenting he'd been able to stop the skinny man from absconding with his daughter, he commenced to slam his head repeatedly on the metal table. And several orderlies had to come in and restrain him and sedate him. 7 hours later, at approximately 3 a.m. on the 16th, he was found dead in his room after escaping his restraints, chewing through his own wrists and bleeding out. The body of Tracy was never found. However, a photograph taken a week before at the Henderson farm shows a suited man standing in front of the horse barn, which people are claiming to be the Slender Man. Next report. Sterling City disappearances, 1986 through 1987. Alice Elkins reported that on a night of her sister's disappearance they were again awakened by tapping on a glass. Sarganho explained she had heard her sister get out of bed and had a short conversation. She didn't hear her sister get back into bed. He went up and went to the window. He saw her sister in the side yard hugging a tall man. According to the witness, the man looked at her, grinning, and indicated that she too was to come down with a snaky arm. It was at this point Miss Elkins became frightened and returned to bed. The tapping continued for several minutes and then ceased. Jasper Alberta disappearances, 2009. January 10th, 2009. 3 skiers, Amanda Fisher, Douglas Bellinger, and Natasha Pierce, disappeared after leaving their cabin in the Mika Mountains resort of Jasper, Alberta. A day earlier, another friend, Thomas Chambers, left the party to go back to Calgary due to health concerns. He was questioned by the RCMP following the disappearance and allegedly informed them he had left due to recurring nightmares featuring a tall man in a black suit. Investigators confirmed that they had ruled Chambers out as a possible suspect but considered him a key witness. A source within the RCMP who spoke on the condition of anonymity revealed to the Calgary Sun that officers had confiscated a digital camera and a camcorder at the time of the interview, which were never returned. RCMP were, however, unable to question Chambers further as he vanished January 21st. His home was found ransacked in the morning. He was never found. Royal Canadian Mounted Police and park officials commenced a month-long search culminating in the discovery of Amanda Fisher's remains high in a tree in severely contorted condition. The bodies of Bellinger and Pierce have yet to be recovered. The next case is one that I've seen a little bit on, the Steinman Woods. Both subjects were hunting the Steinman Woods for 4 hours before sundown. Surviving subject states that while hunting, both men grew uneasy as the fog levels increased rapidly. Constant murmuring sound accompanied by the low hum eventually became apparent to the two men after an hour after the fog increase. An object falling out of the tree struck one of the men in the left shoulder, calling him to discharge his weapon. Object said to be the body of a man of an unknown age. It was very precisely dissected. Major internal organs contained in the rib cage what looked to be separate clear bags. Surviving subject placed organ bags within his backpack. After several minutes, he began hearing low children's laughs, like giggling, and he was then attacked. The subject ran until he reached his vehicle, drove to assumed safety. Backpack destroyed. Subject classified as a B7 witness. B7 witness to be placed in quarantine blind box until resolution. 2007. Investigation team discovered 22 bodies of both genders and various ages impaled on broken tree branches in a radiating circle pattern with chest mutilation as often noted with Slenderman. Upon confirmation, lead investigator Blank called for an immediate evacuation of investigation team at 1700 hours. Bodies had been discovered at 1100 hours. Deadlines for safe evacuation team with only viewed physical evidence of Slenderman approximately 1730. Lost contact with team at 1725. Safety procedures fell well within established protocols. Reason for abnormality unknown. Second team recovered camera equipment 1 week later. Slenderman safety procedures require incidents physical photographic evidence to be disposed of no later than 10/20. The final written account is an unknown account provided by Victor Surge. 5/24/95. 1994 Wilkes Estate. Subject reported nothing out of the ordinary before taking photograph. Lower Stair area was said to be very dark. Subject states that after camera flash she heard a sound like a watermelon being unable to understand subject. 5/25/93. Subject unable to recall events after manner power failure. Unable to question two identified subjects. Camera and film acquired from Gloria Creedy, current resident of Woodview Mental and Psychological Rehabilitation Clinic. Film mostly uncontaminated despite massive blood and human tissue present on camera. No positive ID of an anomalous, tall and slender object. Facial blur caused by possible contamination. 6/7/93. Early digital analysis indicates tall subject may have no eyes. Anomalies previously thought to be film errors and flash artifacts are now thought to be appendages. 6/10/93. Final identified subject reported missing along with over 35 patients and staff of Woodview Mental and Psychological Rehabilitation South Wing. 6/18/93. Further inquiry to cease immediately. See report number 3339-2. There are also literary references to the Slenderman. Again, I've transcribed them all to make sure I get them correct word for word. A sighting of the Slenderman was possibly the inspiration for the famous John Goethe poem and Schubert song Der Erlkönig, translated to Night King or Boogeyman. Poem and ballad are about a father and son riding horseback. The son talks of visions of Erlkönig. While his father tries to comfort and dismiss him, the Erlkönig and Slenderman seem to have similarities in appearance and actions when looking at the translation. My son, wherefore seekest thou thy face thus to hide? Look, father, at the Earl King close by our side. Dost see not the Earl King with crown and train? My son, 'tis the mist rising over the plain. Excerpt. Another example is The Suited Demon. Popular Guru author and Goida created almost 230 stories during 40 years worth of writing career, most featuring the Suited Demon, a tall, thin man in a dark suit who would kidnap, rape, and murder young girls in the woods. During an interview with him in 2009, Deadly Doom Delights magazine, he claimed he did not create it, and in fact it was a real creature, and he had witnessed it murder his 7-year-old sister as a child. He explained that the real Suited Demon was not interested in raping, but editors and publishers insisted on graphic sex being added into his writing. He went on to say, and I quote, I tried to draw different things, normal pictures, portraits, either of and type of stories, but it always comes up for 40 goddamn years. Before becoming too agitated to continue and ending his career, or ending the interview, he stated in a printed article that he considered scrapping it completely before receiving a call that he print it in full. Less than a week after, he burned his studio to the ground and committed suicide in the process.